Welcome to 171. In this video, this is the first one for this class. We're just going to review a couple of basic algebra principles that I'm sure you all know, but I just want to cover them to make sure on the off chance it's been a while since you did your algebra. And the idea is just really quickly, if I have something like this, 2x plus 6 equals 10, I have no doubt all of you can solve that, and you can all tell me how to solve it. We're trying to solve for x, isolate x, get x by itself, wherever you want to say it. So to isolate x, we have to get rid of the plus 6. To get rid of the plus 6, you do the opposite, which is minus 6. Whatever you do on the left side of the equation, you have to do on the right side of the equation. Then you get 2x, 6 minus 6 is 0, equals 10 minus 6, 4. Now you want to get the x by itself, you have 2 times x. In order to get the x by itself, you do the opposite. So, since that's 2 times x, you multiply by 2. Whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. Those 2's cancel. And we get x equals 2. And I'm aware you probably all know how to do that. You've probably all been doing it for years. We just want to look at it maybe a little bit more advanced in this class, and then maybe twist it around just a little bit from a problem-solving perspective. Meaning, suppose I have something like this. 2 times x plus 3 minus x plus 7 equals 4x plus 6. And again, I'm aware you probably all know how to solve that, but just to work through the steps, first I have parentheses, so I distribute. 2 times x is 2x, plus 2 times 3 is 6, minus x plus 7 equals 4x plus 6. Now on the left, I can combine like terms. 2x minus x is just x. 6 plus 7 is 13, equals 4x plus 6. Now I have x's on both sides of the equation, and in this case, I just have to bring all the x's to one side. I can do it in either direction I want. In this case, since the 4 is bigger than the 1x, I'm going to bring the 1x over here. So subtract an x from the left and subtract it from the right. Those x's cancel. I get 13 equals 4x minus x, which is 3x plus 6. And now we're right back where we started the last problem. We just need to isolate x, subtract the 6. 13 minus 6 is 7, equals 3x. And then divide the 3. X equals 7 over 3, and we're done. Again, I'm sure most of you know how to do basic algebra like this, but this is where we're kind of starting the semester, so I want to make sure we're all clear. I'll also point out, when I'm making these videos, and even in class sometimes, I won't necessarily check all this algebra to make sure it works. And on your exam, I'm never going to ask you to check your work as part of the problem. But all of you know, if you wanted to check this, I would just set x equal to 7 over 3. Right there, and right there. Plug it in, do all the arithmetic out, and make sure I get an answer that makes sense. I'm not going to do it on the videos. It will add extra time that we don't need to spend on this, but you guys can certainly do it on your own work. The last thing I want to go over as far as this goes is, there are a lot of equations that we use in math and that you use in different applications. Standard ones for area. Area equals length times width for the area of a rectangle. Area equals pi r squared, the area of a circle. Area equals 1/2 base times height, the area of a triangle. Maybe one more. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width for the perimeter of a rectangle, the distance around the edges. I am sure you've all seen these before and worked with them, and there are a lot more that we'll use throughout the semester or that you'll use in whatever chosen major you happen to be in. And we just want to manipulate these algebraically. We're actually going to focus on the perimeter one. And what I mean is, suppose I know the formula, perimeter equals 2L plus 2W. If I told you that the perimeter was equal to 20 and the length was equal to 4, could you find the width? There's 2 ways to do this. One is to substitute those values in for P and L and just solve for W. If we do that, I get 20 equals 2 times 4 plus 2W. multiply here, 20 equals 2 times 4, 8 plus 2w, subtract the 8, 20 minus 8 is 12 equals 2w, and then divide the 2. W equals 12 over 2, which is 6. And you can certainly do that, and that is completely fine, but this is an algebra class, and we want to take time to work through the algebra. And another way to do this is to take the perimeter formula, P equals 2L plus 2W, and if I know I'm trying to find the width, solve for the width. This tends to confuse students. You are not doing anything different than the algebra you already know. Meaning, over here to solve for W, I got this constant, 2 times 4. I subtracted it to the left, and then I divide by the coefficient of W. If I want to solve for W, do the same thing here. This 2L is just a constant once I plug L in, so subtract it over to the left, and I'll get P minus 2L equals 2W. Now if I want to get the W by itself, over here I divided by the coefficient of W, do the same here, divide by the 2. And you get W equals P minus 2L over 2. And now, rather than plugging in numbers and then finding W, I solved the equation for W, and now I could just plug in my P and my L to get W here. If we do it really quickly, P was 20, so I get 20 minus 2 times L, which is 4, over 2. 2 times 4 is 8, that's 20 minus 8, which is 12 over 2, which gives me 6, which is of course exactly what I got there. Ultimately, it does not matter which way you do this way or that way, but you will work through a lab and some problems in your book, and on Alex, solving equations this way. In the grand scheme of things, plugging in the numbers will work fine, but again, this is an algebra class, and taking an equation and solving it for a variable is just one way to practice the skill. Really quickly, maybe suppose we have one other equation that you all know, Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Solve that for B. Well, if I want to solve for B, I need to get this by itself, so get rid of the A squared. How do I get rid of it? Subtract it. So I'll get B squared equals C squared minus A squared. Now I want to get B out of the B squared. What's the opposite of a square? A square root. So I square root the left and I square root the right. And I get B equals the square root of C squared minus A squared. And then I'm done. We're going to use this skill, like I said, throughout the semester. So we're just kind of starting to practice it, or I'm assuming for a lot of you, reviewing something you already know.